Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. I will cover the detailed agenda in just a moment, but this session is going to be focused overall on finding and applying for internships, specifically for international students. And here is our agenda. I'll go through some of the common misconceptions, talk about internships and how to find them, and finally discuss the application process and decision tree a little bit. All right, so let's start off by debunking some of the common misconceptions about internships. First off is the idea that you need an internship to get a job after graduation. And that's not true. You will be okay if you don't have a chance to intern. However, we do have data that shows that employers view internship experience as a bonus, so you are usually a more competitive applicant if you have some sort of experiential learning on your resume. On the other hand, if you are focused on graduate or professional school after graduation, they will value related extracurriculars over internships. Getting direct patient interaction or doing undergraduate research might be a better thing for you to focus on if that is your ultimate goal. Another misconception is that you should always be interning. Most students do not get an internship until the summer after their junior year, so after their third year of college. At that point, they are usually accepted into their major and they have a better idea of what kind of career they want to pursue. Some competitive fields like accounting, finance, or engineering can have internships that are available for first and second year students, but that's not common across most industries. Ultimately, there are going to be many ways that you can build experience, skills, and knowledge, even if you are not an intern. Focusing on opportunities that allow you to get that experience to leverage on future applications is going to be what is important. Another myth is that internships require you to have a ton of relevant experience, but many employers recognize that internships are a learning opportunity and try to be mindful of the requirements that they have for their applicants. This is where having a strong cover letter can be really helpful in explaining how you will succeed at that internship, even if you don't have a ton of experience yet. And while there are many paid internship opportunities, there are still going to be unpaid ones. Those tend to be most common in nonprofit or government organizations, but they can still be useful in building skills and growing your professional network. And you are usually able to apply for scholarships as a way to make them a little bit more appealing. Finally, don't worry about meeting 100% of the requirements for the position. For internships, especially, you are expected to learn some of those skills on the job. So those were some of the myths, but now let's talk about what internships actually are. So internships are going to be learning experiences that allow you to apply what you've learned in a classroom to a real world setting, further develop your skills, or explore career interests. They can be paid or unpaid, taken for academic credit or not. Most will last at least 1 quarter, such as summer internships, but some industries will have you commit for the entire academic year. So as you can see, each internship is going to look a little bit different. During the academic year, internships are typically part-time, and most students work at their site about 10 to 15 hours per week. Over the summer, they can be closer to full-time jobs, and we do see interns who are working at their site 40 hours a week. Internships can look very different depending on the industry, role, and organization. You can be at a for-profit, nonprofit, or government organization. You might be outside in a field collecting samples, or be in an office working collaboratively with other team members, or maybe you're more independent and are just assigned projects and checking with your supervisor on a regular basis. I will mention that entirely remote internships are becoming less common, but there has been an increase in hybrid internships across nearly all industries. And while internships can sound similar to entry-level jobs, the key difference is that internships should be explicitly focused on your learning. Your supervisor should recognize that you may not have all of the skills and knowledge in that role compared to someone who is hired at your organization. And jobs usually do not have a defined end date. So unlike internships, you would be working at that job until something changes. Finally, internships are often project-based, so you do have a defined project or a set of tasks that are laid out for you at the beginning of your internship, which tends to provide more feedback and structure than an entry-level job. And as you can see, there are a lot of reasons why you might consider an internship. You can work on skills, have a low-stakes way to check out a job that you might be interested in after graduation, build your professional network, and have experience to add to your resume or to talk about in an interview process. I would encourage you to reflect on what your own goals are for an internship so that you can use that as guidance when you're searching for opportunities. And let's talk about how you can find those opportunities. Before we jump in, I do want to acknowledge that there is a lot of pressure surrounding internships. It can be hard and take up a lot of time. So keep in mind that your journey is going to be unique based on your interest, goals, and skills. Track your progress and focus on making small, sustained efforts instead of cramming all of your applications into one 12-hour period over the weekend. When deciding what positions to apply to, take the time to reflect on those goals. Not every internship that catches your eye or is at a big company is going to necessarily be something that you actually want to do and is going to be useful in your future. So, how do you find opportunities? There are three big buckets which can be interconnected. This comes down to talking to people, connecting with campus resources, and using the internet. Talking to people is going to be the best first step. Almost half of Huskies say that a contact helped them get a job. So, chatting with friends or asking family if they know of any opportunities is a simple way to start. I would especially encourage you to connect with your faculty and your advisors. Faculty are going to be in charge of labs, research centers, and are involved in organizations across the country, so they might be aware of opportunities that align more closely with your interest. And academic advisors often get contacted by employers directly, especially if those employers are trying to hire students from a specific major. I do want to recognize that not everyone, especially international students, is not going to have someone who's a built-in network of contacts, especially in fields that they are actually interested in. That is where career fairs and events like information sessions, career conversations, and employer-led workshops come in. The overwhelming majority of employers will extend offers after fairs, and that means that you, as a student, you met with the recruiter, you sent them a follow-up email or some other message expressing interest, and that recruiter then extended an interview offer. Across campus, there are over 75 events that take place each year, and you can view them all on Handshake. And Handshake is going to be the first campus resource that I would recommend when you are looking for internships. The vast majority of internships posted on Handshake are paid. The only exception are going to be government and nonprofit positions. Your academic department may also have its own website or job board, so check in with your advisor to see if there are any specific resources available for internships. And if you are interested in more social services, nonprofit, or government roles, I would also encourage you to connect with CELI, as their focus is going to be on community engagement. So when setting up your Handshake, I would encourage you to fully complete your profile so that you can make the most of it. Having that updated profile gives you access to virtual career fairs and employer events, and will also help recruiters find you. Use filters to narrow your search results. As we sort of mentioned earlier, there are over 30,000 internships posted every year, and you'll want to avoid aimlessly scrolling through all of those opportunities. You can set up a safe search that automatically messages you if there are any new opportunities that fit your criteria. I would also encourage you to give unfamiliar companies a chance. Explore their website, see if it might be a good fit. About 60% of internships posting in Handshake get 3 or less applications from UW students. So being open to smaller organizations that are lesser known can raise your chances of getting an interview. And while we see a big spike in postings in winter quarter, there are many employers that have positions available through spring and even into summer as they focus on just-in-time recruiting once they have a better idea of how many interns they can actually hire and support that quarter. So don't get discouraged if you don't see a lot of opportunities right away. You can also search beyond Handshake. Way Up, LinkedIn, and Indeed are going to be the traditional job boards, so you'll find a wide range of positions and all kinds of industries on there. Google is going to pull internships from multiple websites, but you might end up with opportunities that are out of date or that have very specific requirements. And Idealist is more focused on nonprofits and community-based organizations, so it can be a little bit more niche. But all of these are going to be useful as you start your search. If you already have a few employers in mind, maybe you've had friends or advisors mention to you, you can also just go directly to their website to view any upcoming internships. Generative AI tools like ChatGPT can also provide more specific websites or companies to look into if you have a very niche interest that you're having a hard time finding on those more traditional job boards. As you get to searching, you might have what ifs that come up. So what if you can't find something that interests you? or maybe the employer that you were super excited about doesn't actually have an internship program, or the roles that you're finding are so specific that you just don't have the skills or experience to apply to them. You can also create your own internship. This often works best in smaller organizations like startups or nonprofits. Showcasing your enthusiasm and putting in the preliminary work for the employer is going to go a long way. Employers will really appreciate when you make it easy for them to see what you're going to contribute as an intern and why you're passionate about joining that organization. If you're doing this, well-crafted materials are going to be critical. And again, the title of intern is not as important as the skills you develop during the experience, and you can find ways to build those outside of an internship. Use your class projects in your resume, track what you're learning, join an RSO, volunteer somewhere that you're interested in, participate in events like a hackathon where maybe it's a little bit more high profile. All of those are going to be ways that you can learn new skills or develop existing ones. You can also learn more about a job or industry by checking out LinkedIn Learning and doing a micro internship, which are all linked on our website. I also don't want to dismiss working part-time. You will gain transferable skills and you have a reference for future opportunities from those part-time jobs. All right, so when exactly is the best time to look for internships? If you're interested in interning over the summer, I would recommend that you start looking for positions in late December through early February, roughly around the start of winter quarter. Some highly competitive fields, like those in accounting, finance, engineering, they can start summer internship recruitment in fall, but there's going to be less employers hiring for positions that far in advance for most other fields. And again, with a tighter job market, a lot of employers shift to just-in-time hiring. So there are going to be companies that are recruiting students through the first weeks of summer. And while most students intern in the summer, you can absolutely intern at any point throughout the year. I would encourage you to start looking roughly 3 months before you want to start if you are looking for opportunities during the academic year. Once you found an internship, the next step is going to be to apply. So most internship applications will require the same materials as a job, focus on updating your resume, crafting a solid cover letter, and preparing for the interview as your good starting points. And our office has resources to help. We have workshops and plenty of how-tos on our website. You can also use our online resume review for quick feedback or stop in during drop-in hours to speak with one of our career coaches. Another way to prepare is to ask yourself what employers are looking for from their applicants. There are the tangible skills that are listed in the position description, as well as relevant experience that you can highlight in your resume or cover letter. But there are also intangibles like, are you excited about the job? Do you come across as being genuinely interested in the role or the company? And are you showcasing how your background or perspective make you an asset to that team? And it does take a ton of work. Taking the time to create different versions of your resume and application materials that are catered to the types of positions that you're applying for, searching for a good fit, and talking and networking with people are all going to take up a good chunk of your time. But it will be worth it when you get a great opportunity. I would also encourage you to apply to positions that you're excited about, even if you don't meet all of the criteria. As employers understand that internships are learning experiences, they usually have some flexibility in place as long as you're able to speak to why you're applying. Unfortunately, you will probably get some rejections and be ghosted by employers, which can absolutely be very frustrating, but celebrate your wins along the way to stay motivated. And as always, if you need any additional support, you can come to us for help. I want to reiterate that it's going to be a process. While there's a lot that you can control, some of the things that you can do is apply regularly, maybe aim for 5 roles a week, keep a tracker of some sort so that you have an idea of where you're making it past the first step. Maybe there's a pattern to the types of positions or organizations that you hear back from. And lean on your network. Connect with us at the Career Center, talk to your advisors, or use your friends to chat about the process. Getting an offer is not the end. So once you get an internship offer, you need to decide whether or not you want to accept it. As you're going to be working at that organization for dozens, if not hundreds of hours, take the time to reflect and make sure that it aligns with your career goals. Is the internship reasonable for a student to do? Does the work feel like it meaningfully supports the organization or your own career goals? Will the employer be providing you regular feedback and mentorship throughout the time that you are with them? What skills are you going to be developing? And are you actually interested in that role day to day? Can you devote the necessary time to be successful at that organization based on your other responsibilities? All of these are going to be good to keep in mind as you evaluate your internship offers. As international students, you also need to be mindful of work authorization needs. For students on an F1 visa, you will need to connect with your academic advisor to find an appropriate course to register for once you've accepted your internship. Then, after you've registered for the course, you'll apply for CPT. It is important to communicate often with your hiring manager or your site supervisor. The CPT process can take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, so you might need to push back your anticipated start date. Because the vast majority of our international students here at the University of Washington are on an F1 visa, we'll be discussing CPT as a work authorization model. If you are on another type of visa, go ahead and review the work authorization requirements on ISS website. Curricular practical training is temporary work authorization for any training related to your intended major. Training in this case means a lot of things. It can be traditional jobs or internships, but also experiences like volunteering, completing a practicum, or working at a cooperative experience, as long as that work relates to your major. For example, a student who is majoring in biology would need CPT to volunteer with a hospital clinic, but a student who is majoring in mechanical engineering at the same hospital would likely not need CPT. As CPT is curricular, the university determines whether or not your experience qualifies and requires work authorization, not your employer. Before you start looking for internships, confirm that you are eligible for CPT. First-year students are not eligible until they have completed their entire first year. So the summer after your freshman year is typically the earliest that you can apply for CPT. You must be making normal academic progress and have an offer from an organization for a job or internship. Again, as CPT is curricular, you must enroll in a course to get CPT credits. That course can be within your own department if you're already in a major, or you also have the option to enroll in General Studies 350, which is open to all majors and school years. The exact type of course can vary a little bit depending on the department. Sometimes it's an internship course, but other departments will have you register for independent study or research courses. Your academic advisor is going to review your options with you and make that decision. You must register for a course in the same quarter that you are working at your site. This includes summer. If you are interning over the summer, you have to enroll in at least 1 credit during summer quarter in order to apply for CPT. Very few courses will allow you to defer credits or to complete the coursework in summer and then receive credit in autumn quarter. Do not assume that this is an option for the class that you are interested in. Confirm it's a possibility with your advisor before you start the CPT application process. CPT is also approved quarterly, so if you have an internship that extends beyond 1 quarter, you will need to submit multiple applications. Be mindful of your expected start and end dates. Some organizations tend to mostly recruit students with a semester system, which have different academic terms than the University of Washington and don't align well with our quarter system. These dates are not flexible. You need to contact your hiring manager as soon as possible if you need to make any changes to your internship dates in order to meet the UW CPT requirements. And these dates are going to be updated every year on the ISS CPT website. So please make sure that you review that and are up to date on the latest information. So a quick review of CPT is that you need to have an offer first, and then you need to enroll in a course for CPT credit. Once you are registered in that course, you can apply for CPT authorization from ISS online. And that approval is going to take time. Expect anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks before you receive your CPT I-20 and are officially able to start working at your site. All right, as you prepare for the internship search process, remember to utilize your network and campus resources, tailor your application materials, and connect with us if you have any questions. Best of luck with your search.